Today I want to take a closer look at Amenhotep IV, also known as Akhenaten. We often think of history being dead. We talked about that on the first day of class. It's all stuff that's happened in the past, and it's just stuff that we're required to know or memorize by somebody somewhere who says that it's something we need to learn. But I want you to see that there are always new theories developing about history. You just kind of have to know where to look for them. Take, for example, Amenhotep IV, the Egyptian pharaoh who changed his name and started his own monotheistic religion. Now remember, polytheism means many gods. Monotheism refers to one God. This was a huge deal for the time. Polytheism was common because people of the time period struggled to really understand or find any way to explain the many things that were happening in their world. With so many things to try to explain, it only seemed logical to them at the time period, with the limited amount of knowledge that they had, that there must be a number of gods with their hands in everything. Amenhotep IV changed his name to Akhenaten, which means it is well with Aton. You may also hear that pronounced Aton, and here in the South you may hear it pronounced Aton. Anyway, there's some more interesting theories about Akhenaten. One is that he had some sort of close affiliation with the biblical Moses. Some scholars propose that Moses was actually one of Akhenaten's followers who carried on monotheism after Akhenaten's death, when King Tut and his advisors returned to polytheism. So King Tut was Akhenaten's son, or Amenhotep IV's son. And because King Tut was the boy king, he was too young to rule, so he had a council of advisors who felt like they had maybe angered the gods, plural, by going to this monotheism idea that this one pharaoh had. And so on Akhenaten's death, they returned to polytheism and tried to kind of eliminate any reference to Akhenaten having ever existed. They wanted to wipe away this blasphemy against the gods, plural. Another theory proposes that Akhenaten and Moses are actually one and the same. You may remember a familiar account of Moses' life was that he, as a baby, was set out in a basket of reeds to keep him from being murdered. Pharaoh's daughter, according to that story, found the baby and kept him. So that would technically put Moses in a royal home. But was that Pharaoh Amenhotep III? Was Amenhotep III Moses' father? So in order to decide that, we look at the best records we can find to kind of approximate dates. Amenhotep III was born in about 1411 BC. By some accounts, Moses was born in 1391 BC. So if that was the case, he could be Amenhotep III's son. But it would negate the Bible story of Moses being saved by Pharaoh's daughter. Other accounts say that Moses was born in 1592 or 1571 BC, which would make him too old to be Amenhotep III's son. But Akhenaten was born in approximately 1353 BC, so Moses would have been older. Perhaps Akhenaten was inspired by Moses, which is, of course, another theory. One of my favorite theories about Akhenaten is that he was an ancient alien. If you've ever seen the TV show Ancient Aliens, you know where I'm going with this. We have this image of what an alien looks like, and they all look like Roger on, is that show American Dad? Something like that, Cartoon Roger. Anyway, so based on that stereotype of what an alien looks like, there's this theory that's developed that Akhenaten was an ancient astronaut or an alien. And science actually explains some characteristics of Akhenaten that make people think this. So he had this elongated head, and he had rather soft feminine characteristics, where most Egyptian pharaohs had their images so that they were chiseled and kind of stocky and muscular, that sort of thing. Akhenaten wanted to be preserved in the way he really looked. He wanted to preserve that natural look. And for that reason, we see him with this really long, almost kind of misshaped, apparently, head and this rounded body. And science actually explains Akhenaten's unusual body and skull shapes as medical conditions. So that's kind of interesting. It's based on a hormonal disorder that gave his body a more voluptuous appearance, and something called craniosynostosis, which is a condition that fuses the skull early, and it can elongate the head and neck. So I'll show you a couple of pieces of art here. There is a sculpture of Amenhotep III, so this would have been Akhenaten's father, that shows that he is muscular, a muscular dude. And then we have this ancient relief that was found in the royal tomb in Egypt in 1891 that pictures Akhenaten and his family worshiping the sun. And you can see here the rounded features of Akhenaten. And there are some people who even say, you can see with the arms uplifted toward the sun, there are some people who say that that sun isn't really a sun at all, that maybe it's a spaceship. Ooh. Anyway, I think that's one of the fun things about Akhenaten. So, in conclusion, Akhenaten is more than some dead guy who you have to learn about for class. These different theories mean that there's still so much more out there to be determined and to be learned about Akhenaten, which will keep history alive and continue deepening human curiosity, which is what history is all about.